Vanessa Wyche, Board Chair here at Space Center Houston, and I'm also Deputy Director at NASA's Johnson Space Center. So excited that you joined us today for this wonderful President's Briefing. You're going to hear about what's going on at Space Center Houston today and going into the future. So very excited to share with you what's going on at NASA as well. We're once again launching our astronauts from Florida.
Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX, Godspeed.
And we're on the path to the moon. We're going to have the first woman and the next man to go to the moon through a program called Artemis. You're going to hear all about that as well. But I just want to thank you so much for supporting Space Center Houston. What we're doing to share the mission of NASA, space, commercial, all of the activities that are going on, we're doing that and sharing it with the world and inspiring others to join us. Thank you so much for all that you do, and I want to introduce to you now the President and CEO of Space Center Houston, Mr. William Harris.
Thank you, Vanessa. Hello and welcome to Space Center Houston's 2020 President's Briefing. I look forward to the not-too-distant future when we can hold these briefings in person. Meanwhile, we're fortunate to have the technology to connect with you virtually. The year 2019 feels like another lifetime. Space Center Houston experienced record-setting growth, setting a new annual attendance record of 1.25 million guests. We also achieved many new milestones in realization of our strategic plan. We raised $5 million to restore the Apollo Mission Control Center and completed construction of this historic landmark. And we began welcoming guests from around the world to experience the National Historic Landmark just as it was on the day the first moon landing took place in 1969. We celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 lunar landing with multiple events culminating with our Apollo 11 50th Live. We debuted our new holiday tradition, Galaxy Lights. Over 46,000 students from Title I schools, the most since our founding, visited Space Center Houston through our Title I school program and numerous educational programs which your support helped to make possible. As a science center dedicated to empowering educators through authentic learning experiences, we provided over 80 scholarships to educators from Title I schools. These scholarships allowed teachers to participate in our Space Exploration Educators Conference, known by its acronym SEEK. SEEK is Space Center Houston's one-of-a-kind professional development program for educators who participate in hands-on activities, explore new teaching tools, and learn about the latest developments in science and space exploration. The hundreds of educators come from across the region, the state, the nation, and from many places abroad. They're empowered to leverage our unique access to NASA Johnson Space Center with the goal of bringing space exploration and the science behind it to life for students in engaging and inspiring ways. We're extremely proud that the number of educators and students from Title I schools that visit Space Center Houston and participate in our education programs has grown exponentially over the last few years. As a dynamic science and space exploration learning destination, we understand our important role in helping to ensure all of our region's young learners have access to the STEM pathway. Our accomplishments and the progress we've made toward increasing access for Title I students to join the STEM pathway would not be possible without you. We are grateful to all of our donors who supported our mission in 2019. Please find our complete roll of donors and our impact report, which you can find on our website at www.spacecenter.org/support. I extend my heartfelt thank you. I would like to highlight a few of our major donors whose investments and our work has been transformational. Boeing has been one of Space Center Houston's longest and most committed donors. In 2019, Boeing continued its support for the Girls STEM pathway and made it possible for hundreds of young girls from local Title I elementary, middle, and high schools to participate in this immersive 6-phase program, merging classroom instruction, STEM concepts through hands-on inquiry-based learning, mentorship, and career development. We are deeply grateful to Boeing for renewing and increasing support for the Girls STEM pathway in 2020, which marks 22 consecutive years of support for Space Center Houston. We're thrilled to recognize Boeing among our most committed and generous supporters, and we are incredibly grateful for Boeing's partnership in helping us to inspire female scientists, astronauts, and engineers. Boeing's giving to Space Center Houston over the last 22 years totals more than $2 million. Thank you, Boeing, for your leadership support. Chevron served as the presenting sponsor at our third biennial Galaxy Gala. Chevron's contribution spurred on a $700,000 fundraising event. All proceeds went toward expanding Space Center Houston's Innovation Gateway and other STEM education programs for students from under-resourced communities. In 2019, Chevron also funded our pop-up science labs, which provide in-depth learning experiences to many of the over 46,000 Title I students that visited Space Center Houston. Pop-up science labs are popular among our young visitors and increase engagement and understanding of many of our historical events and science concepts found within our exhibits. Thank you, Chevron, for your support. At the Galaxy Gala, we announced that SpaceX planned to donate an historic Falcon 9 first-stage rocket booster to Space Center Houston. The Falcon 9 is the first reusable space rocket, and the one we received was the first reused rocket for a NASA supply mission to the International Space Station. This technology was part of the launch that transported astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley to the International Space Station. I'm proud to report that SpaceX Falcon 9 has been installed on Space Center Houston's campus and has begun inspiring learners of all ages. We are deeply grateful to SpaceX for this extraordinary contribution. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket helps us interpret a new chapter in the U.S. space program as private sector partners enable greater innovation and ingenuity. The commercial spaceflight industry is taking off before our eyes, and here at Space Center Houston, we're thrilled to share this story and leverage the lessons learned from it to inspire the next generation of STEM professionals. So that was 2019. Wow, what a difference a year makes. In March of 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic caused massive disruption across the nation and dramatically changed our lives. In compliance with CDC guidelines and to ensure the health and safety of our staff, volunteers, and guests, we decided to close on March 15th. While authorized to open by the Governor of Texas on May 1st, we decided to wait until the region had achieved the recommended 2-week decline in infection rates and hospitalizations. Unfortunately, the situation became dramatically worse. After postponing our reopening, we took the stand of becoming advocates for public education on how to live in a COVID-19 world and apply best practices learned through the years by NASA. We reopened to the public on July 19th with major changes to our guest experience, including time ticketing to limit the number of guests within the center and maintain social distancing, touchless entry with self-scan turnstiles, a concierge to greet you and answer any questions, showtime pictures as you enter as opposed to when you got on the tram, requiring that all guests age 2 and older wear a face mask, social distancing when queuing, ample hand sanitizers throughout the facility, and a one-way flow through exhibits. And we deep sanitize all of our surfaces throughout the Space Center every night. As we at Space Center Houston adjust to new norms and come up with the innovative ways to stay safe and healthy while continuing our mission, NASA is doing the same. In August, we opened a new exhibit that we curated called Mission Control the Spread, which explores how crisis sparks innovation and how NASA is helping with the response to COVID-19. The exhibit includes topics such as how NASA uses supercomputers to mimic the virus, why astronauts study vaccines in space, and how NASA quarantines space station astronauts before and after missions. As for education programs at Space Center Houston, we've been able to learn from NASA and innovate. Last summer, we began our new Clean Room Explorer Camp experiences for children. Campers learn how NASA prepares for a mission in an immersive way while maintaining health and safety. Class sizes are small to maintain social distancing. Each day, campers walk over a tacky mat to remove excess soil from their shoes, and then suit up in a lab attire including face masks, lab coats, gloves, disposable shoe coverings provided by Space Center Houston. In addition to the changes to our physical space, Space Center Houston realized that our ability to connect with and inspire our members, guests, and students digitally was more important than ever before. we've gathered our resources and sought support to help bridge the STEM divide in our region and beyond. We replaced our camp-in program, which is usually held at the center, with a virtual camp-out experience free of charge. During each virtual camp-out, participants use household items to make science come to life through engaging hands-on activities. They also are led through a stargazing session looking up at the night sky with binoculars, a telescope, or their own eyes. Then they hear directly from an astronaut about his or her experience among the stars. Our virtual campouts have been a huge success, with over 1,000 families participating in each session. As schools continue to navigate the response to the COVID-19 pandemic, Space Center Houston is eager to provide support, especially with our capacity to provide authentic STEM learning experiences. A longtime donor, the Albert and Ethel Herstein Charitable Foundation, has helped us greatly in these efforts with funding to enable us to conduct a comprehensive assessment to better understand the needs of local educators and students. We anticipate that the assessment will inform how we can most effectively deploy our learning resources to support the young learners during the pandemic and beyond. We've also expanded Space Center Houston's remote learning programs. I'm thrilled to say that we have a partnership with a number of companies in Colombia to assist young girls who are survivors of the drug cartel violence. And we've also been working with an atmospheric research program with high-altitude balloons and held a major program with partners in Southern California. And we're continuing our Thought Leader series by making it virtual. And I hope you've tuned in for some of our recent programs. Our August program was called The Overview Effect and looked at the phenomena astronauts experience when looking at Earth from space. Our most recent program was Growing Organs in Space, advancing the science of how we're actually growing organs that can be transplanted into humans. And we're now working on our next program, which will be broadcasted in late October, and hopefully some of you have seen it already, around how when we send humans to Mars, it may cause mutation and we may evolve being in this different environment. As you're aware, NASA plans to return astronauts to the moon, including the first woman to walk on the moon. The Artemis program is well along in its planning. I'm delighted that Julie Kramer-White, a member of our Board of Directors and Deputy Director of Engineering at NASA Johnson Space Center, will now share a briefing and the latest information on this exciting NASA priority.
2020 has been an amazing year for NASA, whether it's Mars 2020 and the Perseverance rover that's already halfway to Mars, whether it's taking samples off of asteroids with OSIRIS-REx, whether it's Commercial Crew that's already had 3 successful missions this year and is coming up on Crew 1 on the SpaceX Dragon, or whether it's just 20 years of constant presence on ISS. Well, 2021 promises to be an exciting year as well. So as ISS continues to push the boundaries on commercial spaceflight, using things like commercial element and looking at the private astronaut missions, the exploration programs will be pushing further and further out into space for a sustainable architecture. We continue to make great strides, whether it's with commercial lander programs, whether it's XEMU, the new spacesuit. All these things are critical pieces of the exploration architecture, and they're all in work today already. So what does the Artemis campaign look like today? Well, you have Artemis 1. That'll be the mission that occurs in this coming year, 2021. It's the unmanned mission with Orion going around the moon. This mission will allow us to test all the elements of the architecture, the launch vehicle, the ground systems, and the Orion capsule in the exact environment that the crew will fly through. This test is obviously very important because it allows us to test all those systems, and it allows us to do a lunar re-entry, which is absolutely critical for the spacecraft. The Orion capsule right now is built, it's finished its integrated testing. They just installed the solar arrays, and as we speak, they're getting ready to put the fairings on and turn the vehicle over to ground systems. SLS is in the process of running its critical tests on the core stage. It's already delivered all the boosters to Kennedy and ready to stack as soon as it completes that testing this fall. The ground systems folks, they're rolling, as we speak also, the mobile launch platform out to do its final testing, fit checks, software integration tests, and actually its final cleaning that allows it to be stacked this spring. So literally all the pieces are in place. Artemis 2, which occurs in 2023, is the first manned mission with the Orion capsule. The idea is for the capsule to go up into a high Earth orbit that allows them to test out the communications system, the environmental control and life support system, and to do some docking risk mitigation activities. They'll actually separate from the upper stage, do some docking exercises. They do this all before we do our trans-lunar injection move, so that we know that the vehicle is good before we send it on its way to the moon. It then uses the service module to push itself out around the moon on a free return trajectory. In 2023, Gateway also joins the scene. Delivered via a commercial rocket, Gateway has seen some changes since last year. So Gateway, the power and propulsion element, and the habitation element called Halo, instead of being launched on separate commercial launches, will now be launched together on a single launch. And this allows them to be followed shortly by a logistics module. The Gateway is also no longer a required stop on the way to the moon for Boots on the Moon 2024. This is important because it opened up the aperture for our lander providers to talk about different kinds of architectures. And so we got very different bids from each of the partners for those landers. Artemis 3, which is 2024, is the surface operations. That's the one we want to talk about returning to the surface of the moon. That one occurs in 2024. I was also on social media the other day and saw that they were rolling out the primary structure for the service module for this vehicle. And it's really cool to think about that that's the vehicle that's going to take us back to the surface of the moon. So let's talk about the lander system, which is the final mode of transportation actually to the surface. Contracts were successfully let in April of 2020 that had 3 different providers. And as I mentioned earlier, because we've now said that Gateway isn't necessarily a stop on the way to the surface of the moon, we wound up with 3 very different architectures. A 3-stage architecture of a crew module, and a transportation vehicle, along with something that is a single stage direct to the surface of the moon and back. So very different architectures. We've spent the last year reconciling requirements with those providers, looking at early systems design reviews, and then we've also been partnering with them on work where NASA can help them buy down risk to make them successful in these early missions. And we're heading to a down select in February of 2021 for those landers. Let's talk a little bit later, Artemis 3 Plus, sustained lunar operations. The vision for this is to have Orion transfers of crew back and forth to Gateway and landers transferring from Gateway to the surface. We have international partners join us at the Gateway, providing habitation elements and providing refueling elements that are critical for Gateway. Imagine at this point as well a South Pole base camp. It is truly the proving ground for future Mars expeditions, with lunar terrain vehicles, which start under development at JSC next year, pressurized rovers, which are already under discussion with the international partners, habitation modules, surface power, ISRU activities that allow us to utilize materials we're gathering at the surface. What does Artemis look like today? Artemis looks like a very robust, inclusive space economy with a sustainable presence on the moon to gain confidence in autonomous operations and robotic exploration initiatives that allow us to talk about preparing for the ultimate goal, preparing for Mars.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Julie. Though Space Center Houston was closed to the public, we did not pause our activities. We had started work on a new digital strategy to augment our virtual offerings before the pandemic. The good news is that we had a framework in place that we were able to build upon. One new program that has been in development that we formally launched is our executive leadership program called the Human Performance Accelerator Lab, or HPAL. Based on NASA principles learned over 60 years to building effective teams, the approach is based on 3 pillars: having an expeditionary mindset, the overview effect, and really embracing change. We set out to unlock and ignite human potential and performance by practicing leadership techniques developed, tested, and trained by the NASA Human Research Program. We also apply collaboration and problem-solving practices in real time through authentic and immersive space exploration missions and experiences completed by NASA astronauts. We also set out to accelerate individual and team performance by engaging with business experts and best-selling authors, as well as NASA's best and brightest astronauts, scientists, and engineers. and we're entering an even more active period of programs and activities. Over the past few weeks, astronaut Kate Rubins traveled to the International Space Station and Chris Cassidy returned to Earth. And November 2nd marked the 20th anniversary of humans living continuously on the International Space Station. And now we have the launch of SpaceX Crew 1, the first fully commissioned 4-astronaut crew to the International Space Station on the Crew Dragon. And in January, we'll hold a very special dedication that was postponed due to the pandemic. We're very fortunate to have received a major gift from the Granger Foundation to create a hero-scale statue of the Apollo 13 astronauts, Jim Lovell, Jack Swigert, and Fred Hayes. This will be a very exciting time. While an understatement that 2020 has not been the year we anticipated, it has compelled us to revisit our priorities, reset our high expectations, and as you've heard, come up with innovative ways to continue sharing the wonders of space exploration. As the preservers and storytellers of the United States space program, we are keenly aware that no mission is ever completed by one person. Each mission to space and back is unique and requires collaboration, innovation, and teamwork. At the outset of our 2020 mission, we were poised for new records and accomplishments, and we were prepared to build upon the successes of 2019. However, as has happened during many missions into space, we find ourselves confronting unexpected challenges. Challenges that test us and push us to reimagine our mission, redefine success, and rely on our fellow crew members and community more than ever. In order to overcome these challenges, we ask for your continued support. At Space Center Houston, we will learn new ways to fulfill our mission, and I hope that you will continue to invest in our work during 2020 and beyond. With your generosity and involvement, we can ensure that despite this global pandemic, we will continue to provide as many students as possible with the opportunity to be inspired by the wonders of space exploration and access to quality education experiences to advance them into STEM careers. You can learn more about our education programs and their impact in our Impact Report, or make a donation to Space Center Houston at www.spacecenter.org/support. Thank you so much for attending this virtual President's Briefing. We look forward to welcoming you to the Center or one of our numerous virtual programs in the near future. I'd now like to open up the chat box for any questions. Please type in your questions. They will be read aloud for me, and I will try to answer as many as possible.
Okay, William, our first question. I know you discussed some of the changes regarding the guest experience and the adoption of digital platforms. I was wondering, how else has Space Center Houston reset its expectations for 2020?
Thank you so much for that question, Greg. This has been a huge year of transition, and as you heard in my presentation, I described some of the many things that we've done. Like most organizations, we had to downgrade our expectations. We, of course, had a dramatic decrease in revenues to the organization, and so we had, of course, contain our expenses, but we're committed to our mission, and we're really focusing on 2022. We are going to get through this situation. We're hopeful around effective therapeutics and treatments, and that we will return to a greater level of activity into the future. But meanwhile, we've had an incredible increase in our virtual programs, and it's actually opened up many new audiences for us to reach out to. We're committed more than ever to advance STEM learning, not only in our region, but across the country.
Okay, thank you. The next question that's come in, I've heard about SEEK, the Space Educators Explorers Education Conference before, the Conference for Educators. I would like to know, when is it and how might I support teachers from Title I schools who wish to attend?
Well, because of the pandemic, we've made SEEK a virtual conference. There still is a small fee associated with the conference, and we're actually excited that it is virtual because we were limited to about 600 teachers because of our physical space. Now we're not limited. So we are seeking sponsors for teachers to participate, and you can go to our website, spacecenter.org/support, and select SEEK as a project that you could support, either our producing the conference or actually specifically fellowship or scholarship support for teachers to participate. And we welcome that level of support. It is one of the best STEM development conferences for educators.
Thank you. Our next question is, when will guests be able to visit historic Mission Control on Johnson Space Center's campus again?
Oh, I hope very soon. Johnson Space Center, along with NASA, has a 4-stage rating in response to the pandemic. Stage 4 being the worst, everything closed down, to stage 1, where they're on alert but functioning fairly normally. At this point, we're at stage 2, which allows us to take guests to both Rocket Park and through the view corridor of Building 9, which is the building mock-up facility where there is the engineering model of the International Space Station and the robotics lab. We're not going to be able to return to visiting a historic Apollo Mission Control or the ISS control room until we're at stage 1. However, meanwhile, we've innovated a program which is Space Center Up Close, where you actually can experience some of these incredible areas of NASA Johnson Space Center virtually. And you can, again, find that through our website.
Our next question is, what are future building projects on the adjacent land to Space Center Houston?
Well, we do have our facilities master plan, which was adopted by our board a couple of years ago, and we're continuing to work on that. We have about 48 acres of undeveloped footprint, and so we're studying that space to understand what's required to develop it. So far, everything is going very well in that assessment, but our goal is actually to have even greater facilities to advance STEM learning for people of all ages. So that would be driven through our education department. So again, stay tuned. We'll have more to share about that early in 2021.
Awesome. Next question is, wow, that's a lot of virtual programming available to people. Are there still opportunities for me to underwrite or help fund all this work?
Absolutely. More so than ever, we need support to enable us to move forward. We've had a dramatic drop, of course, in our revenues because of our attendance, of course, is restricted. And so more so than ever, we're seeking contributed support to continue our programming and help us move forward through this really difficult period of time. And so we really welcome unrestricted support so we can deploy that toward the areas of greatest priority, but also support for our education programs.
Awesome. Our next question is, the Girls STEM pathway sounds awesome and impactful. Do you know how many girls have made their way through the Girls STEM pathway?
Well, we are so grateful to the support of Boeing, because with their support, we've augmented the Girls STEM pathway, and we have more than 1,000 girls a year who are now participating in that program. And as you heard, it starts with girls in elementary school all the way through high school and into college. So we have a number of stages, and you can learn more about that on our website, but we call it a pathway because you can join at any point. But our goal really is to advance girls into careers in science, engineering, and math and technology. And so far, we're really thrilled with the progress that many of the participants are making in this program, and we want to continue to expand it.
Awesome. And the final question we have in the chat is the Orion capsule reusable, and will the phase 1 test capsule be used again?
Well, the Orion capsule is designed to be reusable, and that is the trend in space exploration, is to have vehicles that can be reused, and that dramatically helps contain costs. I don't know if they plan to reuse the phase 1 capsule, probably not, because often when they're doing the tests, when those capsules come back, they're pretty much dissected to understand what transpired and what the effects were on that vehicle during the test. But the plan is for the Orion capsule to be a reusable vehicle.
Okay, thank you. And we actually had another question come in, William. Will there be any new special exhibits opened now for the holidays?
Yes, I'm very excited to say that we are again having our Galaxy Lights celebration. So we hope that you'll all come down and experience Galaxy Lights. It will have a space science theme, as in past years. It's been modified to include more outdoor experiences, and it's all pedestrian, and so you can maintain social distance. That actually begins Saturday, November 14th, and runs through January 3rd. And we're very excited about this experience. We also have a number of exhibits that Space Center Houston has curated. We have a special exhibit about Apollo 13, since we're in the 50-year anniversary of that incredible mission. We've also, as you heard in the video from my early remarks, have the exhibit Mission Control the Spread, which looks at how NASA is helping address the COVID-19 pandemic. So again, hope you'll come down. We also have great pop-up labs. We have more of those than ever before. And so you can experience those as well.
Okay, thank you. We had another question come through about the opening of Galaxy Lights, and for that person, the event is the November 14th to January 3rd. But that concludes the questions we have, William.
Great, thank you so much, Greg. I really appreciate all of the great questions, and for all of you attending our virtual briefing. Thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you at Galaxy Lights. My warmest wishes to you and yours for a happy and healthy holiday season.